So, very excited to have these guys joining me. We have, you see their names up there, but we've got Matt from Franklin Templeton, we've got David from Cvent, and Leslie from Morningstar. Really appreciate you guys taking the time. So I mentioned up front, to kind of set the context, I do believe, and I think I experienced at Bizzo where I joined a company that was just starting out. I was like the marketing guy helping to build out the marketing engine from scratch there. And that's about 5 years ago now. And I think about it was like one of the best experiences because I started with a clean slate, right? I didn't have any programs, I had no technology, and I was starting on it, kind of kicking off in the middle of this renaissance where so much was happening, kind of like whoever attended the keynote this morning. So much technology was coming of age for the marketer. So I look at my own experience, but I think in the last 5 to 10 years, we've all seen this wild progress. And I think collectively, we've all been part of that. We've kind of helped to shape kind of what's possible. I think it is due to, a couple of reasons. I think probably top of the list, we talk about marketing automation. It is this increasingly mainstream adoption of marketing automation, which has very much become kind of the nerve center of how we're running our marketing efforts. We already talked about content. I put content way up on the list. I mean, we've all placed big bets. We're making big investments in content marketing, taking content really seriously, knowing that you've got to bring on the right talent to be able to do content well and deploy real budgets for content. It's just not going to happen by itself. And then I think Russ teed up a softball for me. I think the biggest thing is I think we're all getting it, that we're getting that to do great marketing. And I've always tried to gut check myself and my team when we're running. The tendency is to run fast and to execute the program in front of you. But we're getting it that to do great marketing, it's about relevancy, right? It's about putting relevant, useful content in front of the people we're trying to sell to throughout that buyer's journey so we can shape the outcomes, right? And these are outcomes that we're ultimately graded on. And I try to kind of look in the mirror and say, like, if you're not relevant, if you're deploying budget in your team's time and what programs you're running are not relevant, why are you bothering, right? So I think it's trying to strive for relevancy. As we look forward, so we've made a lot of progress. I think we are just scratching the surface. I think it's as we all even more aggressively leverage new technologies, new systems, tap these big data troves that we've amassed, and leverage kind of best practices and share best practices that are evolving and that all of us are kind of part of. I think that's how we're really positioned to take our games to the next level. So that's the focus of our conversation. I have some questions to get us going. At any time, let's please jump in and guide the discussion based on kind of wherever your wheels are turning. So let's kind of start at the top. So Leslie, let's start with you. You're in the middle. So why don't you describe for us, what does your current prospect nurturing effort look like? How important of a role does nurturing play when it comes to achieving the objectives that kind of have been set out for the team? What channels are you leveraging, that type of thing?
Well, content is key at Morningstar. From the very beginning when we first were founded as a company, publishing our mutual fund reports was the basis of our company. We've evolved. I oversee 3 key content initiatives at Morningstar: our events, Morningstar Magazine, and social media. And one of the questions that always comes up from across the groups that I work with is how can we use social to identify leads and prospects, people that would be interested in buying our services, institutional investors, individual investors, or advisors. How can we use social to nurture them and bring them into our lead process? One of the other things that's happened at Morningstar is we've really started to invest in technology, something we've all been hearing about today. So we have Eloqua, we brought on the right tools, we just signed a contract with Cvent. So we're bringing in the tools that connect us, that allow us to track and nurture our clients, tools that we didn't have previously. So with these the content piece, the technology piece, we're in the early stages of being able to turn our attention to nurturing and not just show up and throw up with lots of marketing, send lots of emails. We send millions of emails, now we can really focus on sending content that's useful and relevant. And that's what's really exciting for me as a marketer, is reaching people where they in the right place in the process. We publish so much content, but really being able to target people with the vast amount of content we have, whether they're a plan sponsor, getting them the right paper, if they're an advisor, getting them to the right conference and giving them reasons as to why they'd want to come, sharing our magazine content with the right person. Those are all some of the goals that we have around our marketing efforts and nurturing.
Cool. Matt, David, do you want to take on what's happening with prospect nurturing today?
Yeah, so we use Marketo to do email marketing. That's huge for us. We started with Eloqua, we moved to Marketo. You'd have to talk to our automation team on why they did that. But we do a lot of that across 6 of our product lines, tons of campaigns it's insane. But besides working with you guys on Lead Accelerator, we're also doing typical retargeting with AdRoll and Google's own remarketing. AdRoll, we kind of paused because it wasn't doing so well for us as far as just trying to prospect people who visit our site. But we are using them for CRM list targeting. So we can take our CRM list, we have a database of over 10 million people, and segment those out based on what we know about them, and upload them into AdRoll and target them via ad exchanges through display. And on our site, Marketo's integration with real-time personalization, we've isolated different assets on a ton of our web pages, and we can swap those out based on what we know about them through Marketo's IP information. So what industry that company is, how big that company is, what their revenue is like. So if a small business comes to our homepage, we can give them a completely different experience than if a pharma company comes to our homepage. So that's been huge for us as well.
Awesome. Do you want to jump in?
Pretty much the same sort of setup. We don't we use Exact Target for our email, so our integration is somewhat limited. But one of the things I think that has been interesting, and particularly, Franklin Templeton, I don't know how many of you know who we are. We're asset manager. We do business in 150 countries. Our primary business is selling through financial advisors. So the relationship between our wholesaler, we call them senior advisor consultants and advisor consultants, working with financial advisors is really, how where we spend most of our time. In the U.S., we know pretty much 90% of the people that we're trying to talk to, and our sales force is stacked against them. Since we aren't able to use the email retargeting, one of the things that we have done is really empowered our senior advisor consultants to be able to connect with our financial advisors on LinkedIn. Most of our financial advisors, our wholesalers or advisor consultants, can only talk to so many financial advisors face-to-face or through their weekly email program or through phone calls. So what we've done is work with LinkedIn to try to do bulk invitations for those opportunity segments or those prospects within the U.S. Pretty good conversion, actually very good conversion rate. So at least we're staying top of mind. And we partnered with Hearsay Social to empower our sales guys to share timely, relevant content through their own networks. It's a little bit different than the Lead Accelerator product, which we use, but just another way to stay top of mind.
Awesome. So, kind of as friends, I'm going to rise up for a moment, and let's just talk more broadly, because I think when you dive into trying to do something new, you're kind of leveraging the foundation of what you are today. So think about your current marketing effort, and how would you grade, you each have your own scopes of responsibility, so feel free to kind of answer from that purview or just organization-wide. How would you score yourself? Where would you score yourself like an A, and where do you kind of score yourself like we've got a lot of work to do? Holistically, I'll let you kind of. All right. Yeah.
So I'm biased because I do primarily search engine marketing, so that's an A for sure. Paid and natural, of course. Paid social advertising on LinkedIn and Facebook, we're doing very well. Where we stand to gain a lot of ground, I won't say we're failing, we're growing, is attribution. Full funnel attribution, view through attribution. Because when somebody gets a conversion that comes through view through, like LinkedIn or whatever vendor we're working with says, 30 view through conversions, where are they in Salesforce? I can't see them in Salesforce, I don't know. So my CEO says to me, stop spending unless I can see it in Salesforce. I know there's a way to do it. B2C companies are doing it. I think the technology is going to make its way down to B2B soon enough. There are a ton of attribution companies like C3 Metrics. Google just acquired one recently. They're too expensive for us right now, but I think they're going to come down in price in the next couple of years.
All right, Leslie.
I would rank us high on social media, content marketing. We produce a lot of great content, as I mentioned. I also think design is one of our core functions as a company. So the pieces and the product that we design, I would rate at high quality. I think where we have an opportunity to really do more as a company when it comes to marketing is being able to send more targeted and effective information to the right people at the right time.
Well, I think my CMO is in the building, so I'm not going to give us a grade. But I've been with the firm for 15 years, and before I started, there wasn't really any sort of digital presence, and I've had the luxury of seeing our organization transform. I spent 5 years in Canada, then I was transferred down to the U.S. But 10 years ago, held a number of different marketing positions, and I think the last 5 years has been really remarkable for us. Not just in our ability to create better content, but really to free that content up. I imagine a lot of you are in the financial services industry. You know how heavily regulated you are. 4 years ago, we would be creating a PDF. It would take 3 weeks to get it routed, and we'd say, all right, well, it's a good piece of content, but we got to put it behind the password protected version of our site. So single use, single delivery. Maybe if we're lucky, we'll do an email bypass and we'll send it out to some financial advisors. Where we are today is trying to really free up our content. We have changed our pattern for delivery to create a more global public content, so that not only people in the U.S. can access it, but publicly everywhere people can access that content. So freeing up our content, freeing up our charts, I think has really enabled us to have a much better platform for communicating with our clients, regardless of what geography they're based.
So, I mean, I think that's really interesting because it's a big cultural change too, right? So how did that pivot happen? Was it a resistance to share, and because of the nature of
I think
the extra scrutiny on information you're publishing?
I think 2008 and just a client need to have better transparency. The financial crisis helped. I think our CMO, our new CMO who came in about 5 years ago, just allowed people to execute a little bit better. I think being able to have a really good relationship with our legal and compliance teams. Most people would come up and say, I want to do this, and the legal team would be like, no, you can't do it. And then they turn around and go back to their desk. I think just creating a framework. We have a new media legal committee that I co-chair, and that allows us to start with, what is Twitter? What is a hashtag? But over time is really talked about how do we apply LinkedIn Lead Accelerator? How do we look at creating a global public framework for our content? How do we empower our sales guys to use social? Those, I think, are the starting framework for that. And I think a hell of a lot of persistence. I'm not smart enough to turn around when somebody says no, so it works out well for me in that respect.
There you go. All right, I'm going to keep it a high level for a moment longer here. So when you think about, Russ had a funnel up, and I think we all buy into it, right? We know that there's some effort, there's some energy that we need to spend to get on people's radar, right? And then there's another set of energy in our team's time and budget, probably, that we need to drive them down that funnel, to get them to convert, to prepare them to talk to sales. How do you think? Are you earmarking specific budgets for these efforts? Are you looking across your teams and making sure you have specific teams of people spending time on these specific efforts? How do you think about upper funnel versus lower funnel and earmarking specific resources and budget?
Primarily, Cvent's always been focused on bottom funnel until about a year ago. But content, we've always done a large amount of it, but never persona-driven. Now we're getting more persona-driven with our content, and we're beefing up our content team. We started with just one blogger and one copywriter. We now have 3 copywriters, a whole fleet of bloggers, and 2 videographers. So we're pumping out videos every week as well. So we're investing mostly in salaries, but we're also doing a lot of content pieces and thought leadership webinars and white papers with people like Forrester, people like Serious Decisions, and doing a lot of those top of funnel efforts. Because now we have, with Marketo and our email nurturing system, and also lead scoring, our salespeople they don't have to worry about people or following up with people who aren't necessarily bottom of the funnel. So if we're getting people to the top of funnel, they'll be put into a nurture program in Marketo. They'll be given a score, and for every content piece, their score will go up. If they unsubscribe, the score will go down, and only when they hit a certain threshold will the salespeople then follow up with them. So they don't have to worry about calling people who aren't yet interested in at the lower end of the funnel.
Great. Anyone else want to take a crack at that one? Top funnel, lower funnel. Who's getting the budget?
On the technology side, I would say it's really focused on investing in the technology. As I mentioned, we've just signed some key licenses that have allowed us to create more effective funnels. To your point around, you give sales a whole bunch of leads and they're not scored, they're not effectively, is this a good person to call? Is this not someone who's interested? So being able to provide sales with the tools that they need so they can use their time effectively, the technology investment is allowing us to do that, which we didn't have in place before.
Great.
Yeah, I mean, I see you have a limited budget, and I think in our marketing organization, those people have the best ideas and the best plan to execute to help grow our business. We'll get the budget. So I'm not saying that we have earmarked for this or this, but certainly going to the table and trying to look at that from a segmentation standpoint. We do sales momentum models. We do a customer genomics program, and recently we segmented from advisor marketing to investor marketing. So we have two different tranches of work there who look at various aspects of the customer there.
Great. All right, so now we'll kind of dive a little bit. So can each of you kind of put in context LinkedIn? So how are you using the LinkedIn platform? I know Lead Accelerator specifically, each of your organizations are kind of at different points in that journey. But the entire platform, just kind of how does that fit into the mix? How is it supporting? How are you grading success of some of these programs as well?
Sure. So up until this point, I mean, like I said, everything has been bottom funnel. So success has been very sales lead ready. And if it's not, then we're not going to do it. But now that we're more focused on top of funnel and putting them into a nurture program, we can do more stuff around LinkedIn. We still want to get back into InMail. We tried InMail a long time ago. It didn't work out for us too well. Where we're going to use that again probably is Germany, UK, where they have stricter email laws where we can't just blast out emails. So we'll try the InMail there. Where we're seeing great success is with sponsored content and sponsored updates there. So we don't use it for content necessarily, but we found a great way to use it is to promote our Lunch and Learn seminars. That's actually where we drive a lot of our new book business for people attending about this size of a seminar in any given city. At any given day of the year. We're in Seattle today. So we invite people, and traditionally it's only been through email nurturing, but now we can geo-target. We can target people by skills, job titles, what professional groups they belong to, and we contribute about half of the attendees now. So hypothetically, theoretically, you can hope that 50% of the new book business from those are coming from these efforts. So really it's the sponsored content right now and the lead acceleration.
So talk about, I know you guys are further along with Lead Accelerator. So kind of how have you, and I think some of that will be made more real when we get to the Launchpad workshop. But how are you approaching Lead Accelerator? How are you thinking about anonymous nurturing? How do you think about the segmentation that Russ talks about in your world and serving up relevant content to them?
I mean, it's been great. The onboarding and the Launchpad was great. We worked with a woman named Lauren who worked with us for about a month, got us set up, explained everything. It was probably the best launch out of any vendor that we've ever worked with. Didn't even have any questions. We're up on our own now, launching new streams and waves very easily. But it's great how you can just isolate certain pages on your website that or maybe you're more engaged versus sales ready. So perhaps this person has visited 3 of these pages but never been to a demo or contact page. And then this group of people have only visited your homepage. So we'll set up different streams, and then within those streams have waves. You'll learn all about that. So there will, at the very top of the funnel, for people maybe who have only come to our homepage, we'll show stuff like infographics, where we don't even ask for any personal information. It's very, showing some goodwill. This is just something you're going to be interested in. Then we'll start showing something a little further down the line where we ask for maybe just your email, but it's still something fun like a quiz. Then we'll move you down to something where it's more Cvent specific, more sales specific and persuasive, like top 5 ways of using event marketing to increase your ROI. And then it'll express how Cvent is going to help you achieve all of those. And then lastly, we'll give you the banner ads that suggest you sign up for a demo or request pricing, where in the past, those were the only banner ads that we were running. So it's been very easy to set up. It's much easier doing it this way than trying to use Google Analytics and have to create manual segments and then upload new ads, take them down, move them into another. It's just very daunting. We're a very lean team of 2 people right now, so it's been great.
Right. How are you looking at, how are you grading the programs? Like what are you looking to accomplish and kind of what are the results, where are the results falling in terms of?
Build the funnel. So it's like traditionally if we're doing retargeting and we're only looking at the bottom funnel leads, requested demo, request pricing, compared to these guys, top of funnel, the cost per lead has come down by like 70%. So
A great CPL is a very specific
yes,
metric.
CPL is a huge KPI of ours. That's pretty much what we focus on. But because we're focused on top of funnel now, the timing to close that lead will take a lot longer. But we're okay with that because we're not wasting salespeople's time because of the lead scoring. So salespeople are only going to follow up with those people once they've hit a certain threshold. But with the nurture programs that we have, with Lead Accelerator and with Marketo, most of those people are going to be called by sales.
Leslie.
We've been using our company page to publish content, so a lot of our magazine articles get published on the Morningstar company page, content from our conferences, media coverage of our conferences. We've had a lot of success with organic reach on LinkedIn, and so this last year we invested in sponsored updates, in-mail, as well as display advertising on LinkedIn. And one of the things that our marketing team really likes about it is obviously you can target a very specific type of buyer, whether it's a financial advisor or a plan sponsor. And the campaign we ran with our retirement segment last year, as they tracked the leads that they were getting specifically from our LinkedIn campaigns and the combination of sponsored updates and display ads and in-mail, they were higher quality leads and turning into better conversations for our salespeople. So with this information in mind, when the Lead Accelerator program came up, the idea that we could target people that we're directing to a landing page or on a specific campaign and serve up more relevant content to them was really appealing to us.
Right, Matt?
Yeah, so for us, I talked a little bit about the global public nature of how we're trying to free up our content. We have a very blog-centric strategy for content delivery. Just like Twitter, LinkedIn is an avenue that we use. One of the things that we worked with Jen and the product team 3 years ago on was really allowing us to do those geo-targeted updates. The problem in a financial services industry is that those geo-targeted updates would still be visible if you went to that page. So our regulatory group had quite a challenge with that. So we weren't able to really do that. And that's one of the things I think is beneficial about LinkedIn is that they will hear their financial partners to look at opportunities. The geo-targeted function was challenging for both us, BlackRock, and other folks. So I was glad to see that change happen. But we start with the blogs, timely topical content. We use Twitter to help disseminate that. LinkedIn, geo-targeted updates. We do local language translations for all the regions that we think we have strategic importance with, because now it's global public, an Italian speaker in Little Italy in Toronto, and our country in Italy, can leverage that content, do the geo-targeted updates. We obviously do sponsored updates, not so much in-mail, and Lead Accelerator is relatively new for us, so we're experimenting with that.
Great. So let me open it up. I have a long list of questions, but anyone care to jump in? Dan.
I'm curious to know from each of you if there's sort of a perennial marketing problem that you feel like you're tackling in different ways, either through LinkedIn or through some of the other tactics that you're using, maybe something specific to your industry or to sort of key efforts that you've been doing, maybe seeing those things change over time, anything along those lines.
Sure. For us right now, I think it's the synergy of messaging across all of the different platforms we're using. So it's great that we're doing nurturing with LLA, and then it's great that we're doing nurturing with Marketo, but people might be receiving different messages. They're both great, but it would be awesome if everybody was receiving the same message, each person on email, on search, on display, everywhere. So and it's just a matter of money for the technology because I know it's there. But that's where we're struggling because I think that having that synergy across the different platforms and messaging is going to be pretty key.
I think the opportunity in today's marketing world is really the experimentation. So something that we discussed in the last session. In traditional marketers, you want to set it. Here's the email; it's never going to change. Or here's the direct mail piece. Or here's the print ad. Things are set in stone. And what I love about where we are in today's era of marketing is that we can experiment, and these types of programs allow us to do that. We can try to add A and add B, or email A and email B, see what's working, tweak, fix, and then quickly move on. I'm really excited about those opportunities. We see it in social where we'll test 2 different types of posts and see which ones are resonating, and then spend more advertising against those posts. So I think the experimentation is the big opportunity right now.
I would agree with you. One of the challenges that I think in my particular role is looking at the legacy systems and technology platforms that we have across our large, complex organization, and coupled with our funding mechanism for new technology, and realizing that if we really want to have an impact for our clients on a global digital scale, we need to figure out a way to deal with that. And I think some people might look at dealing with, well, we got to replace this technology, we got to replace this technology. I've been trying to help us think about it a little bit differently. And okay, so if we don't want to rip out that technology, what is our ability to create an API that allows us to interact with that platform? I've been really happy working with a company called Apogee, who helped us create a more robust API strategy for the firm, not only for us internally, but for internal and external developers to help tap into to some of those areas that we're looking for. So I think those API-driven experiences are where I'd like us to be sooner rather than later.
I'm not sure if it was another thing that prompted this question, but in talking about like financial services, regulated industries, public companies, et cetera, and trying to be active and post very regularly, how do you manage the review process? Are you utilizing a tool that manages that workflow and review, or are you like handling that offline and then scheduling like posts? And then when we talk about sales enablement, and I don't remember which one you said that, but pushing outside of your organization, that adds another layer of that review process. I'm just curious as to how that's being managed.
I think I'm answering that one, right?
Yeah, we're not even in the financial industry.
I have. And I know this is a video camera too, so hopefully you can find scenes to see it. So a couple things. Specifically, I will talk specifically about social. Part of it, I think, was getting the right people internally to really focus in on this changing landscape. I talked to the New Media Legal Committee that I set up probably 4 years ago. We meet every 2 weeks for an hour, and we don't have a shortage of things that we're talking about. But really thinking about creating a platform for our company to extend our reach. So whether that be through that, you can't imagine how long it took us to create a global public disclosure for our blogs. Literally went through every country's document and cross-reference it. Oh, this word's different. Why is that word different? Let's talk to the local regulator. It literally took us 1.5 years. And so creating a foundation that you have at least a baseline of content that local marketers can use on an ongoing basis is, I think, a good foundational step. And whether they geo-target that or when a user comes to that blog and we know that they're coming from a UK IP address, we can target a separate message for them, we'll do that. I think beyond that, I think just creating that framework that builds trust with your legal and compliance team. We have a principal on my team who will quickly look at a tweet before it goes out. We have a third-party linking policy that we had to create that allowed us to go through a framework for that. Hearsay Social's been really good for us to enable our sales guys to do it in a compliant way. I think that those are some of the foundational elements. I don't think we're terribly good at responding to somebody who says, hey, so-and-so. But we do have, quite honestly, a library of, I think, 700 canned responses that we can choose from if we're in a pinch and I can't get a hold of anybody. Hopefully it answers the person's question. But that's really the foundational part.
All right, well, let's pull a very important group of people into the conversation, sales. I think when we talk about prospect nurturing in a marketing world, like it kind of seems like it's marketing's job, right? Nurturing. But long before we had any of these technologies or the Eloquas or Marketos and some of the things that have allowed us to do that job, sales was nurturing, right? They're the ones getting on the phones and trying to educate people who may never have heard of our brands. So today, in your organizations, do you think about that partnership when you think of the world of nurturing? How do you coordinate with sales? Is there an appreciation of kind of how you're evolving these and trying to team with them?
Can I challenge that question?
Please.
You said that sales...
Yes, please.
Yeah, response. Why can't marketing close business?
Why can't marketing close business?
Right. I mean, you were focused on sales and the leads going over to sales. If we can create an environment that marketing can help close business for our organization, we should be doing that. We don't want to add, 7 million salespeople to close business, across the globe. How do we think about that in a digital nurturing relationship all the way through the sale? I don't know.
Right. So yeah.
Please.
I'm trying to replay the question in my mind. Just like, yeah.
How does this whole process redefine the role of traditional sales?
Yeah, so I don't know. It's a great point. So let's step back then. If you think about it, before the internet, before the empowered buyer who can do basically they need very little help from sales to get educated because of the free flow of information, right? So it's up to marketers. So we've had to step in with technologies and to up our own games to be able to reach them and to educate them through this process. Because if we're not there doing it, they're going to do it on their own, right? So that's a big theme of what nurturing is all about. So frame it. We can frame the question that way. So how is this changing and evolving? Kind of how sales focuses or the partnership, and how does sales play into this? When you think of, let me draw a picture. When we talk about multi-channel nurturing, we can now nurture through display channels, social media, email. Is sales really just another channel, part of that multi-channel nurturing equation? And to your point, Matt, maybe it's one channel, and it depends based on how successful we are in those other channels. Would depend what you really require from that channel. So,
I mean, I think the stat now is 85% of a B2B sale is done before they talk to a salesperson. So that comes back to how much nurturing is being done, how much content is being put out there to give people the information they need before they even talk to a salesperson. So marketing is definitely doing more of a job. The only thing holding us up is complex products. Then we need a sales team that's going to help people understand how exactly they're going to use that. And frankly, I mean, my company would hate to hear me say this, but I mean, salespeople probably don't want it to be any easier because then they wouldn't need as many of that.
Right there, the recording. Yeah.
that's right.
But we've said it so many times, and it's actually coming to fruition. Some of our product lines we're going to have Cvent Lite, and it's going to be able to be e-commerce. You can purchase it over the website and never have to talk to a salesperson, but it's a much simpler product without the advanced features. But I think that's the big part of it for us, is kind of taking sales out of the equation is making very
I think the LinkedIn sales people in the room are getting a little uncomfortable. They're like, Leslie?
From our organization standpoint, we're organized at, so we have a direct-to-advisor group, so they're selling solutions just for the advisor, something that may be a little bit more complex, or sometimes they might be doing a one-off, so where that advisor could call in or order something online, all the way up to the institutional level sale. We're very focused on solution selling. So anytime we have a large campaign that is the longer sales cycle, it's going to take more nurturing along the way to get someone interested in the product. Before a campaign is launched, all of our marketing team meets with the salespeople to get their input on what's the key messaging, what are the things that are important to you, and then also following up with, here's the campaign that we're launching. So for example, we have a 52 print ad campaign running in Barron's. We focused on some key products and services that we want to focus throughout the year. And each of those products have their own landing pages, have their own content, whether that's videos or white papers or information. So the sales teams are all equipped with all of that content. So they're aware of what's going out and when campaigns are rolling out. So it's really equipping them with the information that they need and then utilizing Salesforce so that they can track once they've got the leads and the leads that are scored appropriately for that salesperson or that sales team, they can track them. So it really is a partnership between sales and marketing and equipping them with the content and information so that they can go in as a solutions-oriented salesperson and not just, hey, buy this. And that's been very effective for us. And I think it's created, since that change, I feel like there's less tension between sales and marketing. I feel like we're more collaborative versus sometimes the salespeople feel like you're not doing enough for me. I don't have the information I need. I'm not getting enough calls or enough leads. Through this process, I feel like we're more collaborative.
Can I ask you a question?
Okay.
Are you guys finding the leads that you're providing sales that 100% of them are followed up on?
No, I don't know that information.
Because that's the thing, right?
I mean, not now. That was an SLA where they had to be doing that, but now because of the lead scoring, unless they reach a certain threshold, they're not going to follow up with them until they're ready.
So now we're generating leads as organizations that aren't being followed up on. So hence, I think the value that marketing could be playing. And I think in our organization, we're only able to cover, each wholesaler or advisory consultant can cover the top 500 people in their territory. That can be like all of California. So what about the rest of them? And I think that's really, the opportunity segment, as we call it in the U.S. anyways, is really where I think as marketers we have an opportunity to help impact the bottom line in a significant way. But I think we've got to do it in a much more dynamic, digital fashion for those people who will respond to it. Please.
You just mentioned lead scoring.
Mm-hmm.
And since you put that in place, are the leads followed up? And did it take some back and forth to get the balance between quality and quantity?
So we're just finalizing the process right now through this demand waterfall. We worked with Series Decisions who helped kind of walk us through this whole thing. But they are being followed up with, and the salespeople are very happy that they're not following up with people who aren't qualified. So they're pretty happy about that. And then the people who aren't yet qualified, they're going to be nurtured and nurtured and nurtured until either they contact us or they reach a threshold where we contact them. And if they don't contact us, then they go into our exhausted list, and we might try again in a year.
I mean, the one punchline might be, if you think about nurturing, it's like what we're doing is the answer to keep hiring more and more salespeople. Probably not, right, to really scale, but nurturing, as we are able to do better nurturing, it's taking a lot of that repetitive load, because we can do that in a very programmatic way based on signals, and allowing our salespeople to be very consultative. Because that's where I think it's hard for marketers, because at the end of the day, it does end up a very one-to-one where you need to dig in to understand your customer's business, and that's really the role of the salesperson, to understand that and then map solutions. But we can allow them to do that, and then to get credibility with the sales team. It sounds like through nurturing, through good lead scoring, you're teeing up better sales, you get credibility, and I think it's about, I'm happy for anyone to jump in as well, but it's about common KPIs, right? I know at Bizzo, as we built it, and it was, we would kind of align with sales, but then the sales team would grow, and that alignment would start to deteriorate over time. And I think it's when we really were locking arms around the notion of, we had defined sales accepted opportunities, that was my team's goal, to drive X number of opportunities to the sales team being qualified into pipe. And sales management was equally charged with saying, we're going to, if you give me that many opportunities, then there's a conversion rates that they're signing up for as well. And it's having common KPI and common definition of what, in this case, a sales accepted opportunity is. Other questions?
Question for Matt.
Sure.
You're with Franklin?
I am.
So,
For the time being, yeah.
I'm with Mackay Shields, so we're kind of in the same business. My question is, the work that you do, have you applied that to the institutional segment of your business, or has it principally been to the retail or high net worth segment of your business?
We have applied it to our institutional, as you know, from a regulatory standpoint, your global public is not really going to apply in the institutional space, but we have applied a lot of that to our institutional group. My head of social is actually up in Toronto this week, onboarding our institutional sales team in Ontario. There are things that we can share. We can stay top of mind. We can stay relevant for our institutional clients on LinkedIn by just allowing them to be on there. Show them how the advanced search function works, how they can look at clients there. So we are applying that on the institutional side to a much lesser degree.
It's more difficult.
Yeah, the box that you have to play in is a lot smaller. Yeah.
All right, let's look. Kind of took the conversation up and down. I'll take it forward. Going right 2020. What will prospect nurturing look like in 2020?
More space,
there.
more platforms, right? I think the connected TV stuff is getting pretty crazy. I think everybody's going to be able to be targeted while they're watching TV, even if they're not using Hulu or an app, just Time Warner. I think you're going to be able to be targeted in some pretty crazy ways where you might not expect it, which would be great because I'm tired of seeing the same ads that aren't targeted to me on TV. I also think account-based marketing, where you're just reaching towards a specific company that you know has gone to your website, will get even more granular. You'll probably be able to target the specific people at the company instead of everybody at that IP address. So I think that'll be pretty crazy, and it's going to need a lot of content if you're talking about micro personas instead of just 5 different personas. That's pretty insane. So 20, yeah.
So how do we, let's hang on that one. That is on the content. Thoughts on how do you deal with that? Because more granular targeting does kind of imply this content conundrum. Thoughts on how we tackle that as better targeting becomes available?
Ramp up your content writers. that's what we've had to. We've gone from 1 copywriter to 2 and a specific content creator and the videographer, and they're just gonna. We would prefer to keep it in-house because they know our products and they get to know them better and better than farming it out to an agency who might not be vested the way we are. So we'll probably just continue to hire some more content producers.
Leslie, 2020.
The stat from one of the earlier slides about 20% of emails, or only 20% of emails are opened. I think about my own use of, I click through, like delete, 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 delete. I think in the future, marketing, if we're doing it really well, should be welcome and inviting and something that we want to get. When I think about content that I get from companies, it's usually, I can't wait to open this, or I can't wait to look at it. It's inspiring to me, and I think marketing can be so much more than just sharing an ad. It can really be helping people solve problems, as we've discussed today. So I do think the marketer of the future and the marketing messages of the future are going to be things that our clients of all levels are going to want to receive. And through targeting, we can do that in really effective ways.
I don't know.
We have a time capsule now, so we're going to play it back.
So I think I could touch on some of them. Internally creating a platform to create to connect systems, allowing internal developers and external developers to drive API-driven experiences across mobile, whatever the devices are going to be, which kind of ties into the TVs and what have you, the Google Watch or whatever watches you have out there at the time. I think people say we're digital automation. If you really look at what's required for digital automation, there's a hell of a lot of human effort put in there. So I think true automation, at least 80% automation through the entire funnel is highly likely by 2020. And I think the industry as a whole in financial services is going to be remarkably different. Whether you're talking about active or passive or robo-advisors and the omnibus accounts that are coming through the online brokerages. I think if you don't have access to who your client is, then I think it's going to put your business at risk. I don't know.
pretty inspiring. It's all going to be digital. It's all going to be automated. Does that start put all of us out of business, right? Do you think fewer marketers will be needed because there's more we will be able to build
I don't think you're going to need fewer marketers. I think the roles are going to be significantly different. So I've got a team of about 25 people. None of those roles exist